If you're a man over 60 and you've been told it's normal to wake up 3 or 4 times a night just to pee, I'm here to tell you that is a lie. It is not normal. It is not harmless. And the real reason it's happening might shock you. Because there's one simple habit, something you do every single day without even thinking, that is quietly inflaming your prostate, disrupting your sleep, and slowly eroding your quality of life. And yet, no one is warning you. Not your friends, not your family, and sadly, not even your doctor. I'm Dr. Jocelyn, a physician and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience treating prostate problems, erectile dysfunction, low testosterone, and everything that affects a man's vitality. I've helped thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reclaim their strength, confidence, and independence. And today, I'm going to help you see the full picture. Most men think their prostate gets bigger just because they're getting older. But that's only half the truth. What if I told you that your age isn't the main problem? That one overlooked daily behavior is triggering a silent inflammation that causes urgency, dribbling, and all those frustrating late-night bathroom trips. Stay with me because in the next few minutes I'll reveal what that habit is, why it's so dangerous, and how to stop it naturally without medication or surgery. I'll also show you a 15-second bedtime ritual my patients use to sleep through the night and finally feel like themselves again. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another prostate health tip made specifically for men over 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 so I know how to better serve you. Let's begin. Habit number 10. Cutting back on water to avoid nighttime urination. I can't tell you how many times I've had men in their 60s, 70s, even early 80s sit in my office and proudly tell me they've started drinking less water in the evening so they won't have to get up and use the bathroom at night. And every time I gently shake my head and say, I know you mean well, but that habit may actually be making your symptoms worse. It sounds logical, right? Less water means less urine, fewer trips to the bathroom. But here's the part no one tells you. When you cut back on water too much, especially later in the day, your urine becomes more concentrated. It turns darker, more acidic, and more irritating to your bladder. That irritation creates pressure that pushes against your already sensitive prostate. And the result, you may actually feel the urge to urinate more frequently, not less. When the bladder is constantly exposed to concentrated urine, it becomes agitated and overactive. It sends premature signals to empty, even when it's only half full. That's exactly why so many men wake up at 1 a.m., then 3 a.m., then 5 a.m., rushing to the bathroom with urgency only to pass a small trickle. It's frustrating, it's exhausting, and it slowly chips away at your confidence and quality of life. I've had patients nearly in tears telling me they just want one full night of sleep again. I understand, I truly do. But the answer isn't to deprive your body of water. Dehydration is one of the most overlooked triggers of prostate inflammation. Without enough water, your body can't flush out toxins, your tissues swell, and healing slows to a crawl. So, what should you do? Hydrate consistently throughout the day. Don't wait until you're thirsty. That means you're already behind. Sip small amounts regularly from morning until early evening. Aim for light, clear urine. That's your body's signal that things are in balance. And if you're worried about drinking too close to bedtime, simply taper off water about 90 minutes before sleep, but don't stop altogether. Water isn't your enemy. It's your most natural, accessible ally. Habit number 9, sitting for long periods without movement. I remember one of my patients, a retired school principal named Frank. He told me he spent most of his day sitting, watching television, reading the newspaper, or working on puzzles at the kitchen table. Doc, he said with a chuckle, I earned this rest. And he had. But what Frank didn't realize is that too much sitting, especially as we age, quietly works against prostate health. When you sit for long periods without standing or stretching, you place constant low-level pressure on your pelvic region. That pressure reduces blood flow to the prostate, and when blood flow slows, inflammation builds. The body can't deliver nutrients efficiently. It can't carry waste away. the tissues around your prostate begin to swell, and you may start noticing more urgency, a weaker stream, or discomfort when seated. It doesn't happen overnight, and that's what makes it so dangerous. It creeps in slowly. A few extra bathroom trips here, a restless night there, a growing feeling that something just isn't right. The truth is, our bodies were designed to move. Movement isn't just about fitness or weight loss. It's about circulation, energy, and for men over 60, it is one of the most powerful ways to protect the prostate. The good news is that you don't need a gym membership or a complex routine. One simple rule makes all the difference. Every 30 minutes, stand up. That's it. Just stand, stretch your arms, take a few steps, look out the window, set a gentle reminder if you need to. These micro movements release pressure, restore blood flow, and signal to your body that it's still active, still vital, still alive. Frank took that advice to heart. Within 2 weeks, he was sleeping better. Within a month, he said he felt lighter, more energized, and more in control. A still body invites silent problems. A moving body invites healing. Habit number 8, overconsumption of caffeine. I'll be honest with you, this one hits close to home. I love the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. That first warm sip can feel like a small gift. And for many of the men I see, that daily cup of coffee becomes almost sacred. But here's what I've learned. After decades of treating prostate issues, too much caffeine, even from something as comforting as coffee or tea, can quietly wreak havoc on your bladder and prostate. Caffeine is a stimulant. It doesn't just wake up your brain, it wakes up your entire urinary system. It increases urine production and stimulates the bladder muscles, often leading to more frequent urges. For a healthy young man, this might be a minor inconvenience, but for someone over 60 whose prostate may already be slightly enlarged, that extra stimulation can push things over the edge. One of my patients, Gary, had been drinking coffee in the morning, iced tea in the afternoon, and sometimes a cola in the evening. He never thought twice about it. When I asked him to cut back and switch to herbal or decaf alternatives after his morning coffee, he hesitated. "Doc, I've been drinking this stuff for years." I nodded and said, "That may be exactly why it's time to change." Within 10 days, he noticed he wasn't waking up as often at night. His stream felt stronger. His confidence returned, and to his surprise, he didn't miss the caffeine as much as he thought he would. I'm not saying you have to give it up entirely. Enjoy that single morning cup, but consider stopping there. Your prostate and your sleep will likely thank you. Habit number 7, eating processed and spicy foods regularly. I had a patient named Bill, 68 years old, who came to me frustrated. "Doc, I've cut back on soda. I'm trying to walk more, but I'm still waking up at night to pee." When I asked him to walk me through his daily diet, he laughed. Bacon and eggs for breakfast, deli meat sandwiches for lunch, and spicy chili at dinner. What many men don't realize is that food isn't just fuel, it's information. Everything you eat sends a message to your body. Highly processed foods like bacon, sausages, frozen meals, and packaged snacks are loaded with chemicals, unhealthy fats, and artificial preservatives that increase inflammation throughout the body. When your prostate is already sensitive, these inflammatory signals make things worse. And spicy foods, hot peppers, chili powders, and sauces can directly irritate the bladder and pelvic nerves. When those nerves are overstimulated, it can feel like your bladder is full, even when it isn't. Beyond that, many processed meals contain trans fats and added sugars that raise estrogen and lower testosterone levels. That hormonal imbalance is a proven driver of prostate growth. When Bill swapped his usual meals for whole foods, grilled chicken, leafy greens, avocado, berries, and walnuts, he didn't just feel better physically. He told me, "I feel more like myself, clearer, stronger, more in control." That's the power of eating to heal. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be mindful. Habit number 6, holding your urine for too long. It always surprises me how many men brush this off. I was stuck in traffic. The game was on. I figured I could wait. I get it. Life is busy. But this seemingly small habit is one of the most underestimated causes of prostate trouble I see. Every time you resist the urge to go, your bladder stretches a bit beyond what it should. That constant stretching creates downward pressure directly onto your prostate, and your prostate, especially after age 60, isn't built to handle repeated pressure like that. Over time, it irritates the delicate tissues, causes swelling, and can damage the nerves and muscles that help you urinate properly. When you delay urination too often, your bladder may also fail to empty completely, leaving behind small amounts of stagnant urine, a breeding ground for bacteria that further inflame the prostate. I remember Tom, a retired firefighter who had trained himself to ignore the urge for years during long shifts. At 67, he was waking up 5 times a night. When I explained the connection, he paused and said, "I wish someone had told me this sooner." So, here is what I tell every man. When your body says go, go. Listening to your body isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Habit number 5, smoking or even being around smoke. I'll never forget Walter, 72, proud, strong-willed, a construction man most of his life. He had quit smoking 10 years earlier, but his prostate was still giving him trouble. When I asked if he was ever around other smokers, he paused. Every Friday night poker game, my buddies light up like it's 1975. What Walter didn't realize is that the prostate is incredibly sensitive to environmental toxins. Cigarette smoke, whether inhaled directly or secondhand, is one of the most damaging exposures you can face. Each cigarette releases thousands of chemicals that restrict blood flow, decrease oxygen levels, and trigger chronic inflammation throughout the body, including in your prostate. Over time, these chemicals interfere with the gland's ability to heal. Blood vessels narrow, tissues stiffen, and long-term exposure doesn't just worsen benign prostate enlargement. It can increase the risk of developing more serious conditions, including prostate cancer. If you're a smoker, please hear this with compassion. Quitting is hard, but it's also the single greatest gift you can give your prostate, your heart, and your future. And if you've already quit, that's something to be genuinely proud of. Just stay alert and avoid secondhand smoke whenever possible. Walter stopped going to the poker games in person and started hosting them at his home smoke-free. Within weeks, his sleep improved, his nighttime urgency eased, and his energy returned. He told me it felt like someone had turned down the volume on his discomfort. Habit number 4, skipping yearly prostate checkups. Not long ago, I sat across from Henry, 66 years old, well-dressed, polite, and clearly uncomfortable. He'd been dealing with frequent urination, low energy, and a lingering ache in his lower abdomen for over a year. But this was his first time seeing a urologist. When I asked why he waited, he shrugged and said, "I didn't want to know." Henry isn't alone. Many strong, intelligent, hardworking men avoid doctor visits until they can't ignore the symptoms anymore. And I understand there's fear, there's pride, sometimes there's embarrassment. But here's what I always say. You take your car in for an oil change every few months, not because it's broken, but to keep it from breaking. Why should your body deserve any less care? The prostate is a tricky organ. When it starts to swell, it often does so quietly. A slightly weaker stream, an extra trip to the bathroom, a restless night. By the time it becomes obvious, the problem may already be advanced. But when caught early, many prostate issues can be managed with simple lifestyle changes and non-invasive treatments. A basic physical exam, a PSA blood test, and sometimes a digital rectal exam can provide life-saving information. These aren't about diagnosing disease. They're about preserving health. Henry's issue was caught early. With dietary changes, stress management, and a mild medication, he turned things around within months. But he looked at me afterward and said, "I wish I hadn't waited. I could have saved myself a year of worry." So, let me ask you, when was the last time you had your prostate checked? Habit number 3, eating too much red and processed meat. Joe, 70 years old, retired Navy, proud Texan. He came to see me after months of interrupted sleep and a sluggish urine stream. When we got to his diet, he chuckled. "Doc, I'm a steak guy. Always have been." I smiled because I hear that often. But a diet heavy in red and processed meats, bacon, sausage, deli cuts, thick steaks can quietly fuel the inflammation that worsens prostate. Symptoms: These meats are packed with saturated fats, preservatives, and chemicals that lead to chronic low-grade inflammation. When your prostate is already enlarged or sensitive, that inflammation acts like gasoline on a fire. Beyond that, regular consumption of red and processed meat has been linked in multiple studies to a higher risk of serious prostate conditions, including cancer. When Joe cut back to red meat once or twice a week and experimented with chicken, fish, beans, and lentils, he came back with a different tone. I didn't realize how heavy I'd been feeling until I stopped. My stomach's calmer. I'm sleeping better. You don't have to give it up completely. Just bring more balance to your plate. Habit number 2. Belly fat and obesity. Leonard, 64, soft-spoken, always kept a good sense of humor. He sat in my office and said, "Doc, I know I put on some weight around the middle, but how much harm can a belly really do?" I looked at him gently and replied, "More than you think, Leonard, especially to your prostate. Excess belly fat isn't just extra weight. It's metabolically active tissue that sends powerful hormonal and inflammatory signals throughout your body. It converts valuable testosterone into estrogen, which can directly contribute to the growth of prostate tissue. As estrogen increases and testosterone falls, the prostate begins to enlarge, leading to more frequent urination, weak flow, and persistent pressure. The good news is that you don't need to lose 30 or 40 pounds to see results. Studies show that even a modest 5% reduction in body weight can have a noticeable impact on prostate symptoms. For Leonard, it started simply: a short morning walk, swapping sugary drinks for water, and adding 1 extra serving of vegetables to dinner. In just a few weeks, he was waking up less at night and feeling more energized. He told me, "It's not just my prostate. It feels like I'm getting a piece of myself back." Habit number 1. Chronic uncontrolled stress. Of all the habits we've discussed, this is the one most men overlook. And yet, it may be the most powerful force affecting prostate health. I've had patients sit across from me, calm on the outside, but carrying the weight of decades on the inside. One man, Richard, told me, "Doc, I'm not the kind of guy who talks about stress. I just keep moving." And I nodded because I know that story too well. Men over 60 were often raised to be the rock to tough it out. But chronic stress doesn't just live in your mind. It lives in your body, and your prostate feels it. When you're under constant stress, your body produces elevated levels of cortisol. Cortisol fuels inflammation, tightens the pelvic floor muscles, disrupts hormone production, and interferes with sleep. Over time, it lowers testosterone and increases sensitivity to pain and pressure in the pelvic region. The perfect storm for prostate problems to develop and linger. Richard eventually opened up about his worries, family, finances, purpose after retirement. That's when we began to rebuild, not with medication, but with intention. 10 minutes of deep breathing each day, a walk at sunrise, journaling once a week, connecting with friends, and giving himself permission to rest without guilt. Within weeks, his symptoms began to ease. He told me, "I didn't realize how much I was holding in until I let it go." Managing stress isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's leadership over your own health. Conclusion: you are not broken. You are simply uninformed. Over the years, I've sat across from hundreds of men just like you, frustrated, exhausted, and silently worried about what's happening to their bodies. And after hearing their stories, I can tell you this with complete certainty. You are not broken. You're not weak. You're simply operating without the full picture. And now that you have it, everything can change. We've walked through the 10 most common habits that silently inflame the prostate. Cutting back on water, sitting too long, too much caffeine, processed foods, ignoring nature's call, smoke exposure, skipping checkups, red meat overload, belly fat, and chronic stress. Each may seem small in isolation, but stacked together day after day, they quietly create the perfect environment for your prostate to swell, your sleep to suffer, and your sense of control to slip away. But here's what I want you to hear louder than anything else. You have the power to reverse course. It doesn't take radical change. It takes awareness, small, intentional steps taken consistently, listening to your body instead of overriding it, and treating yourself with the same care you would offer to someone you love. One of the most effective tools I've given my patients is what I call the 15-second bedtime ritual. Simple, safe, and grounded in the same principles we've explored today. Reducing pressure, calming the nervous system, and supporting the bladder and prostate while you sleep. Men who do this nightly report waking up less, sleeping deeper, and finally feeling in control again. So here's what I encourage you to do. Go back through the habits we discussed. Choose one that feels doable and start there tonight. Don't chase perfection. Chase progress. You're not too old, and it is absolutely not too late. Your prostate is listening, and now you have a voice that knows what to say. If this video helped you, even in a small way, please take a moment to like it, share it with someone who might be silently struggling, and drop a comment below telling me which habit hit home for you. Your voice matters here. I'm Dr. Jocelyn, and thank you for being here. Let's move forward.